This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Lori Johnson. Today is Thursday, September 18th, and we begin this half hour in the Middle East. As the war continues in Gaza City, the world takes sides for and against Israel. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more on our top story from Jerusalem.
Israeli troops are keeping up their advance against Hamas in Gaza City, dismantling terrorist infrastructure and targeting enemy fighters. On Wednesday, the IDF said it struck a weapons storage facility containing explosive devices intended to strike IDF troops. Meanwhile, according to reports, the Israeli push forward has emboldened some Gazan clans to stand up against Hamas and take over certain areas. Military officials were quoted as saying that a number of clans had deployed armed operatives to prevent Hamas from reasserting control, and at least one clan had made an agreement with the IDF. Israel is also making a giant leap forward in its defense. Tests of the Iron Beam high-power laser system were successful, and it is ready for delivery to the IDF. The system is built to intercept rockets, mortars, aircraft, and UAVs, and is far cheaper to operate. Firing Arrow interceptors can cost millions of shekels, Iron Dome interceptors tens of thousands of shekels, but employing the Iron Beam is as cheap as turning on a light. On the international front, the European Union laid out a sanctions plan to pressure Israel to end the war in Gaza.
Israeli government's push into Gaza City is a new escalation of the war and will further deepen the humanitarian crisis. Today, I presented a robust package of sanctions of Hamas terrorists, extremist ministers in the Israeli government, and violent settlers and entities supporting the impunity going on in the West Bank.
The British Prime Minister is said to be ready to recognize a Palestinian state as soon as President Trump finishes up his visit there. Luxembourg, too, is considering recognizing a Palestinian state. On the other side, Netanyahu welcomed Fiji as the seventh country to open its embassy in Jerusalem.
The fact that you have come here and you have put your embassy in Jerusalem and you recognize a truth that everybody should recognize, but few governments have so far, that this has been our capital for 3,000 years since the days of King David.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Israel's fight against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iran has dominated the headlines for nearly 2 years. There's also another front in this war for the land, and the weapon is a grapevine. CBN Middle East reporter Joshua Swanson explains.
Just south of Jerusalem, in the biblical heartland of Judea, sits Tekoa, where the ancient prophet Amos lived and foretold that the mountains shall drip with wine. Welcome to Tekoa. We are in Yoni and Gadi Afik's vineyard, answering the prophetic call of Amos to replant the vines in the hills of Judea. But modern-day Tekoa stands on the front lines of a very different kind of battle, a battle for the heart and soil of the land of Israel.
Agriculture and farms, trees and vineyards are the border. They are like the border between us and our neighbors.
If you're not planting, you're losing your ground.
Brothers Yoni and Gadi are strengthening Israel's frontiers one vine at a time.
Look around you. We are right in the border between the village Tekoa and the new vineyard.
The brothers believe that the biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria was given to Israel by God and to settle it by peacefully cultivating the land.
And every day walk here to guard and keep and watch our lands.
On October 7th, 2023, however, both brothers were called up to the IDF to defend Israel, trading pruning forks for rifles.
I got a call from my unit and they said, we need you. We didn't want it. We want to do agriculture.
During Gadi's 230-day military service, his wife Hava and their 5 children kept the frontline vineyards alive. She said, we were terrified and exhausted, but the children learned farming, living out what the prophet said. Israel's government recently approved a symbolic resolution to once again take control of Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley.
I am Mike Johnson. I'm the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the United States Congress. We are so blessed to be here at ancient Shiloh.
Speaker Johnson said the mountains of Judea and Samaria belong to the Jewish people, quote, by right. Families like the Erics are already laying the groundwork, literally.
When we were new here, there were only a few caravans. We built in my house doing agriculture. We were able to help this place to develop, to grow bigger.
Driving through the hills, Yoni points to the desert planted with vines.
This is like the forefathers' land. This is the Bible land, and this is our valley. This is where we're planting most of our vineyards.
The next valley over from the Erics vineyard lies Amos Valley, still bearing the name of the biblical prophet.
This is the original Amos Valley. If you go all the way east, you will meet in the Dead Sea. Amos' grave is over there. I'm touching a stone that maybe Amos the prophet was touching.
The brothers say they're partnering with prophecy. I will bring back the captives of my people Israel. They shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them. I will plant them in their land, and no longer shall they be pulled up from the land I have given them, says the Lord your God. Every vine they plant is more than agriculture. It's rooting Israel's future deep into the land.
It's a very deep and spiritual relation between the grapevine and people of Israel.
Our nation were divorced for 2,000 years. You can't divorce from your land. You can't divorce from your story. My grandfather and my grandmother was in Europe during the 40s.
The brothers' grandparents survived the Holocaust and came to the reborn state of Israel.
My best relationship is with the grounds, with the land.
Driving in posts, bringing water, enriching the soil, nurturing vines for 3 years until the 4th year and the first harvest.
It's exciting me when I holding the plants, see what's going on. It's like a baby. Everything is in the nature. God's do everything for us. The story is that vineyard is like, I believe in this land, I believe in the future, I believe in the next generations. During the war, a few teenagers planted a new vineyard, and we came back, we saw it, and we were very, very happy about it, to see it. We saw that the next generation is doing vineyards, and this is our vision.
This isn't just about reclaiming the desert and cultivating a vineyard. This is about reclaiming the land of Israel for future generations.
Reporting in Tekoa, Joshua Swanson, CBN News.
Back here at home, a heartbreaking day in York County, Pennsylvania. 3 police officers lost their lives in the line of duty after a gun battle. 2 others were wounded. Today, a community grieves and the Commonwealth pauses to honor their sacrifice. George Thomas has the details.
On Wednesday evening, a solemn scene in North Codurus Township. About 45 minutes south of Harrisburg, residents and first responders lined the streets as a procession of police and emergency vehicles carried the bodies of the officers killed in the line of duty.
This is an absolutely tragic and devastating day for York County and for the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Earlier in the day, officers approached a rural farmhouse in York County to serve an arrest warrant and restraining order tied to a domestic incident. But when they got there, the suspect opened fire from a nearby cornfield.
Count of officers down, please. We have 1 officer down.
Homes and schools in the area were immediately placed on lockdown. Dave Miller, who lives just across the street from the farmhouse, says he was out for a walk when the gunfire started.
When I passed the barn, I heard gunshots within a few minutes, and I saw an officer go down on the road, in the middle of the road. Pretty alarming.
There were 5 law enforcement officers who were shot today. 3 fatally, 2 that were transported here to WellSpan in York. They are currently listed in critical but stable condition.
Authorities say one of the officers was able to return fire, killing the suspect, who was reportedly wearing camouflage at the time.
This kind of violence isn't okay. We need to do better as a society. We need to help the people who think that picking up a gun, picking up a weapon is the answer to resolving disputes.
The FBI is now assisting Pennsylvania State Police in their investigation. Governor Shapiro has ordered U.S. and Commonwealth flags flown at half-staff in honor of the fallen officers. George Thomas, CBN News.
The Federal Reserve is officially set to cut interest rates for the first time since President Trump took office. Announcing the central bank's decision Wednesday, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell noted the reason behind the decision.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. While the unemployment rate remains low, it has edged up. Job gains have slowed, and downside risks to employment have risen. At the same time, inflation has risen recently and remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals, and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 1/4 percentage point.
The much-anticipated cut aims to help the lagging U.S. job market. Fed policymakers have indicated they plan to cut interest rates 1/2 percentage point by the end of the year. Wednesday's decision follows months of President Trump insisting the Federal Reserve makes the move. Meanwhile, Republicans in the House are taking action to help the government pay its bills. They introduced a temporary spending bill to keep the government open as a shutdown looms at the end of the month. Democratic leaders are critical of the measure, saying it doesn't do enough to address the high cost of health insurance. Coming up, see how artificial intelligence is helping to protect places of worship. Stay with us. You're watching CBN Newswatch. Welcome back to CBN Newswatch. With attacks on houses of worship rising, a former U.S. Navy SEAL is joining the fight with a company he started to protect such places using artificial intelligence. CBN's Billy Hallowell reports.
As concern grows over mass shootings, Zero Eyes co-founder Rob Huberty says his company is using artificial intelligence to protect potential targets like schools and houses of worship.
So what we do is we take your existing video cameras, that's what we need to use, and we process every frame by frame, every image, every video feed that you have that are your cameras, we don't install anything. And we use our AI that goes over them, and what it does is it looks for guns that are exposed.
Within seconds, Zero Eyes pinpoints the types of guns being brandished and alerts first responders about the nature of potential threats, as well as the types of weapons assailants might have. Dominic Iacco at Lansing Catholic High School in Michigan says this can offer peace of mind to his school community.
My initial reaction was basically, how can we not do this? When you look at kind of the tragic history of these types of scenarios and you see the advantage of the response time that Zero Eyes gives you, as an administrator of a school, obviously you never want something like this to ever happen, but you also want to know that you've done everything possible to make the school as safe as possible.
Matt Montana, safety director at Valley Baptist Church in Bakersfield, California, agrees.
People want to do us harm. And when I say us, I mean men and women of the Christian faith. Not only the faith-based communities. For whatever reasons, because we live in a broken world, there's a lot of sin out there, and the innocence is preyed upon.
His church is preparing to roll out Zero Eyes, and Montana, who worked for years in law enforcement, says the real-time intelligence can help mitigate threats and save lives.
What we're doing here, that in itself may deter somebody who has thoughts of doing harm to people at Valley Baptist Church.
While Huberty is fully aware of privacy concerns regarding AI, he says his company has intentional safeguards in place.
We view ourselves not as the total solution, but as a layer that makes sense. There's no predictive analytics. We're just looking for an object, which is a gun. We're just trying to be the best in the world at seeing guns and trying to give that information to first responders and those who can do something about it first.
With mass shootings and acts of violence increasingly directed at synagogues, churches, and faith-based schools, Zero Eyes is offering a viable option for leaders looking to increase protections. Billy Hallowell, CBN News.
Still ahead, targeting artificial food dyes. Find out when these ingredients will be removed from foods on grocery store shelves and why such a good thing could create a false sense of security. Stay with us. You're watching CBN Newswatch. Make America healthy again. That's the aim of HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. His first target, eliminating artificial food dyes. While health experts agree it's a good move, some say it could create a false sense of security. This year, major companies like Kraft Heinz, General Mills, and PepsiCo have stated they will voluntarily remove all artificial dyes from their products within the next 2 years, replacing them with natural colors. Meanwhile, several states are joining the effort to restrict these ingredients with the same time frame. The Food and Drug Administration is also doing its part by banning the synthetic red dye 3 by 2027, while approving 3 new natural food colors.
This administration is not interested in continuing down the path of doing the same old things as we watch our nation's children get sicker.
Some studies suggest a link between artificial food dyes and neurobehavioral issues in children, including hyperactivity and problems paying attention.
The magic related to color, it all happens right here.
Sensient Technologies in St. Louis makes natural food colors using things like beets, turmeric, and carrots. It's seeing a surge in orders, which means more time will be needed to meet the demand.
Tens of millions of pounds of these products need to be grown, pulled out of the ground, extracted, extract the color from them.
While virtually all health experts agree the idea of processed food companies getting rid of artificial dyes is a good one, many see it as a brilliant marketing move if it convinces consumers that no synthetic dyes equals healthy products.
Picking artificial dyes out of Skittles is still going to leave you with Skittles. And so one of my concerns is that what if that puts sort of a halo of health on Skittles now that they have something other than artificial dyes?
Author Michael Moss investigated many processed foods and believes the amount of sugar companies put into their products is far more dangerous than the synthetic colors.
Sugar they call the bliss point because they work up formulas. They call this food engineering to achieve the perfect amount of sweetness in products. They've marched around the store adding sugar, engineering bliss points to things that never used to be sweet before.
Products like yogurt, bread, and pasta sauce.
What we're really doing with this is a magician's trick. It's look over there, and these food dyes are the troublemaker when, in fact, the actual trouble is in these processed foods themselves.
As a physician, Dr. Stephen Gundry says companies' use of the chemical glyphosate on almost all conventionally grown grains scares him.
So they found out that they could spray normal crops, normal wheat, normal oats, normal corn, normal soybeans with glyphosate and kill it so that they can have their giant combines, their harvesters, on a field on a particular date.
The International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic to humans. Since then, the product's parent company has spent approximately $11 billion settling lawsuits over the cancer allegation. The chemical has also been leaked to leaky gut, which can cause migraines, fatigue, and autoimmune diseases, according to Gundry.
So glyphosate was discovered by Monsanto Corporation in the 1970s, and it was actually patented not as a weed killer, not as an herbicide, but as an antibiotic. And that should raise our eyebrows, number one.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says eliminating artificial dyes is just the beginning of his fight against the processed food industry. Others predict a short fight ending in defeat, largely because of the industry's influence through campaign contributions, economic impact, and political power.
The problem with fighting it from RFK's standpoint, is that Congress, which eventually makes the laws, has an interest in monetarily supporting their campaigns.
Frankly, I think he's at the wrong agency, because the vast power to regulate and change our eating habits lies not at HHS, Department of Health and Human Services. It lies with the Agriculture Department. And by and large, the Agriculture Department is controlled and dominated by this handful of processed food companies.
So even with no artificial dyes, health experts advise staying away from processed foods and going the natural way, even if it takes time to convert those around the table.
That if you serve plain steamed broccoli to your kids 20 times, by the 21st time, they may actually like it. And it worked in our family. My boys are now 25 and 20. And I tell you, even today, they come over and they're asking for plain steamed broccoli.
Coming up, revival continues across the country. A special event helps bring thousands to Christ. We share the exciting news next. Revival continues across the country. Thousands of people gathered under a 110-foot cross to seek Jesus in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. The event is called Faith Fest, and reports say more than 1,000 people in attendance gave their lives to Christ, with approximately 100 people baptized. Pastor Greg Laurie preached at the two-day event. He shared how God saved his life when he was young and searching for the truth. Franklin Graham's Samaritan's Purse was one of the sponsors of the event. Graham says he thanks God for all those who made a decision to turn from their sins and put their faith in Christ Jesus. That's it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Instagram, or X. We hope you have a great day. See you next time.